Welcome in to another episode of Sports Talk. I'm Mackenzie Blaze alongside Aaron Mukes. As of yesterday, we will be here every day at 7:30 on our website, WELB.com. So join us and come hang out with us. We're going to talk all things sports. Aaron, it's been a very busy week of sports, I feel like, and a very exciting WBC turned into a disappointing one for Team USA yesterday.
I think it depends on how you look at it. I'm not sure if you can say this is necessarily a disappointment if you're a baseball fan. I guess if you're a United States supporter, you're waking up this morning a little bit hurt. But I think overall baseball won yesterday, and I know we're going to get into all of that. But it was definitely a championship game worth watching.
I'd say for about the last half. The first half, it was a little grim for me. I was like, are we going to score?
So see, this is what's wrong with you're a baseball person. You shouldn't have these feelings. Look, I know there weren't a lot of hits in this game. Venezuela obviously coming away with the win, 6 hits. They looked to be the more dominant team here. But we're talking about the excitement of baseball. And I think it's just a different level when you watch the World Baseball Classic than when you watch anything else. And you might say, oh, we want more runs scored, but what about the pitchers who are dominating? Like, you have to give them some credit. How about an Eduardo Rodriguez coming out of seemingly left field, a 5+ ERA in the majors the year before, and he comes back and he has a dominant performance against the United States team that's loaded. Well, at least they say is loaded. We'll get to that in a little bit as well. I just think it was a win for baseball overall.
I agree. I think the numbers, you could see them online. They grew tremendously over the last WBC. And anytime people are watching baseball, it's always good, because I feel like for a second it was kind of falling off. But I mean, these guys, Venezuela especially, they brought the excitement. They were so fun to watch. I'm happy for them. Obviously, we'll get into Team USA, but Venezuela, just an incredible tournament. They definitely deserved this one. But we'll just get into it. I mean, the USA bats. Like I said, the first half of this game, I was like, are we going to score? Are we going to get a hit even? What are your thoughts on such an incredible lineup going? Let me get these numbers. 3 for 31 in the final. And if you take away Harper's 2-run homer, 1 for 31. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they went scoreless in 17 of the last 18 innings outside of that Bryce Harper home run. But you have to give credit to the pitching staffs as well. We always talk about in Major League Baseball when you get to the postseason, if you have a dominant arm, that could carry you to a World Series championship. I think the same thing applies here. You're taking the best players at every position in all of these countries. And Venezuela, obviously, their arms were amped up. Rodriguez was throwing like 3 miles per hour more on his fastball than he had been throwing. The energy was there. You could see the determination of the other teams. And I just don't like the fact that we will discredit some of these other countries to try to prop up the United States. Look, the United States lineup was loaded. You have Aaron Judge, you have Bryce Harper, but there were guys in the lineup that just weren't hitting. Alex Bregman did not have a great series. Cal Raleigh didn't get a hit in the WBC, and he had, 50-something bombs this year in Major League Baseball. So, look, baseball is a game of slumps. And when you look at these lineups, it's early in the season as well. And maybe we can get to that talking about the time that this is played. But these guys are all coming off the offseason, and some of them aren't ramped up yet. Some of the hitters aren't in their rhythm yet. And so it's not surprising to me that the United States struggled with the bats, and they really wanted to rely on their arms. And I thought they pitched pretty well. I just think some of the other countries just hit better, and Venezuela was living proof of that. They knocked off really good teams. I mean, let's give them the credit.
I mean, you talked about Bregman getting the start and not getting many hits at all. I think he was at his first at bat, he was 1 for 12, I think, in the WBC. What was your opinion on DeRosa's decision to not start Henderson and PCA, 2 young guys that have been proving their bats in this tournament?
It's baseball. It's lefty on lefty. They didn't want to go with the lefty on lefty. Gunner's going to swing from the left side. Bregman's a right-handed hitter. He had success previously against Eduardo Rodriguez to start, so you wanted to go with that. And the day before, he did put Gunnar Henderson in, who had success against that pitcher, and you see what happened. He hit a home run. So I think it's easy to question decisions when they don't go right. But listen, you can blame a number of things. I just think this was really good baseball, won by a really good baseball team. I don't think DeRosa deserves some criticism for that move. There might be some other things we can criticize DeRosa on throughout the tournament, but that's not one of them. And I just thought Venezuela was the better team last night.
Yeah, in his post-game, he was asked about starting Whitlock over, or not starting, closing Whitlock over Mason Miller with the Padres. He blamed it basically on the Padres and said that it was because they had said, if it comes down to it, if it's you have the lead and you need him to close, but you're not going to put him in that situation when it's tied. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the rules around the WBC are obviously a big talking point. I think this changes if they move to July when they really should be playing this tournament. But I thought it was appropriate. Again, given the circumstances, you see this in regular season baseball games sometimes when they don't bring in their closer in a tie game. So, and I get it, they were the home team, and normally that's where the closer spot should be at. Mason Miller has thrown a lot of pitches. It's early in the season. If he goes out there and he gives up the lead anyways, he's getting criticized. If he goes out there and gets hurt, guess what? He's getting criticized. I think when you have a WBC team that has all those special arms, you trust in those arms, and I think DeRosa made the decision that he thought was right and that they had already pre-planned going into the situation. So again, I'm not going to criticize them for some of these moves. It is very, very hard to manage when you have baseball programs or clubs that have rules that they're making these managers abide by. And let's be honest, it's not just USA. Right. All of these teams had rules for these Major League Baseball players. Venezuela just got the job done. And I just look at that. That is the storyline to me. How much it means to that country and to those people. That's where I think the United States fell a little bit short. Is I feel like it meant more to the other countries. And maybe that's not fair to put on the players, but it even felt that way watching the games, like it just meant more to these other countries.
I agree. Well, a lot of was it Rodriguez that was talking, said that, he'd rather win. World Series means more to him than WBC. I think for a lot of these other countries, it's the WBC or go home. I think this is why they play the game. They love baseball. They love the culture. I mean, so many athletes from the MLB come from, that small town in Venezuela. I really think it's incredible. And I agree. I wish the USA would have brought it more. I hope that they do end up moving this to July, because for me, I feel like the Team USA, they were treating it like an exhibition game.
They also were missing their best pitcher. Let's be honest. Right. Paul Skeens pitched in the semifinals. It should have been Tariq Skubal in the finals, but we didn't have him because he felt like his arm wasn't ready to be at that kind of ramped up velocity this early in the season, and that's the reason this needs to move. And ABS and all that stuff should be implemented, and I think it'll get there. But baseball did win last night. It was a beautiful, beautiful game to watch. It was beautiful to watch the fans enjoy it, and the atmosphere was electric.
It was awesome. All right, that's enough of baseball. We got football coming up. ASU, they went to the blue turf yesterday, their first day of spring practice. We'll hear from new head coach David Bowser after the break. Spring has sprung over at ASU, Aaron. They had their first day of spring practice yesterday. That beautiful blue turf got some use. I know you said it yesterday. You love football. You love being out there.
I can't imagine a better place to be. And the weather was beautiful. It was nice and cool. It was maybe a little cold, but just being back on the football field, I would say smelling what's going on, but it didn't smell too good. But it was just a lot of fun to be out there.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically a new team. I mean, they got new coach David Bowser. He's from Johnson C. Smith. He was the linebackers coach and the special assistant to the head coach. Now he's doing his thing down here. He's got a bunch of new guys, a bunch of new coaches. We talked to a couple of them yesterday. But I'm excited. I mean, the energy was right. These guys were vocal early on. They were loud. They were ready. The coaches were already getting in them. I loved hearing that.
Yeah, the quarterback room specifically is one that we wanted to keep our eyes on. A lot of a lot of old faces, but now getting new opportunities. And that is really, I think, the focal point of this spring is finding out who's going to be the guy taking snaps.
Right. I mean, the good news is they all have experience, which is something a lot of QB rooms don't have. These guys, they're all freshmen. Now they're sophomores. Last year, that guy right there, Xavier Azari, he got his time during Newberry. But let's hear what they had to say about the competition in that QB room.
I feel like my role is to just understand a new playbook, help my bros out like when they need it, because we all gonna need help when it's new. But I think it's definitely just understanding it, looking out for them, standing back for them at practice and watching the defense, see what the defense do, and teach them, just what they need to do to make sure we get it done.
There's one guy I didn't recognize. Tell me a little bit about him, his name, where he's from. What y'all are seeing for him so far?
That's JD. He came from Alabama A&M. He's real cool, real calm. He's another good addition to the room. He's a good quarterback. Athletic, and he teaches, and he's not scared to talk. So it's a great addition to the room. One quarterback left, another one comes in that same type of energy, brings the same thing to the table.
Aaron, they're replacing Isaiah Knowles, who followed Coach Gray down to FAMU. What do they need to do? What do these QBs need to do to kind of emulate what Isaiah Knowles brought to this team?
I wouldn't use the word emulate. I think they need to bring their own flair, their own style to the position, but I do think they can learn from what Knowles was able to bring to Albany State. He was a leader, specifically a vocal leader, but the guys in the locker room really respected Isaiah. And I think when you look at guys like Izzy and Jaden, they both had opportunities to come into a team last year, play in some meaningful minutes of games, and do really good things. And so some of those returning guys already know what these quarterbacks are about. I think that's a really, really cool opportunity. You have the kind of the wild card, the unknown in JD, new guy. They talked about his kind of being integrated into the quarterback room and what they've been able to do. I think the closeness that this unit already has, the familiarity they already have, is going to bode well for them. And this spring really is about identifying, hey, what do we need to bring come September or August, late August, and who is going to be that guy that's going to kind of take the charge or the forefront of the opportunities. And I think I already know where mine's leaning towards. We had this discussion in the newsroom yesterday. Is it Izzy? Is it Jaden? Is it the big lefty? Is it JD? And I think that has a good feeling knowing that there's 4 guys that could possibly be a starter. But at the end of the day, you have to narrow it down to 1.
Absolutely. But I mean, the good news is, like I said, these guys all have experience because there was so much turmoil in the QB room last year with just injuries. They were just plagued by injuries. All these guys got reps, and I think just having that, it could be me. It could be me. And Coach even said there's no guarantees in this position. He wants no one to be comfortable. He said, what did he say? He said, I don't even want to be comfortable. Like, I always want to be on my toes. And it was just great hearing from him. And these guys say they have all the love for each other. And I'm just excited for what we're going to see in the spring game.
I think the quarterback position, if that gets handled, what Coach Bowser wants to bring defensively is already going to be an added bonus to this team. This is a team that made the furthest run they've ever made in program history. They're off of a season where they set records and made history. And I think in order to continue that, you have to have a message like Coach Bowser's bringing to this team.
Yeah, he said there's a new motto this year. That motto is grateful, not entitled. He was saying it all day yesterday. And let's hear from him to see what he means by that.
What is that message to them that your job is not necessarily safe? Like, you got to go out and earn it every day.
Right. And it's not even a matter of like you're trying to make somebody lose their job. But what I want them to understand is that when you transfer this into life, and people come into your office and they come into your meeting space, you're going to have to be competitive all the time. You can't get too comfortable. It goes back once again to the slogan, I'm grateful, but I'm not entitled. So I think that you're absolutely right. Across the board, we're going to get the numbers up. A.D. Kelly and President Scott have got my back on understanding that we want to push these numbers to another level because you got to be able to compete because it's a whole change now with this transfer portal. And when we came in, and I remember that first team meeting, there was 42 guys in there. And my heart was racing. I said, 42 guys on a football team right now, but we were able to get some good recruiting in, and we got our numbers up to about 78. And then we're going to get that freshman class, which is a great Southwest Georgia class. We're just going to keep pushing, and these guys understand we're going to get some more bodies in here that can compete and keep elevating this game.
I'm excited, Aaron. I'm real excited. But I mean, Coach was talking, again, like we said, it's going to be competition, but he's also focused on the details of this group. He said if we can get those little details down, that's when the championships come. Yeah,
you can point to any level of athletics, whether it be youth, college, high school, or the pros. When you have detail, when the details matter and the details are taken care of, it usually breeds a winning program. We've seen this a lot of times when they talk about Bill Belichick being so attention to detail oriented that it's almost crazy, right? And he was talking in his post-game speech or post-practice speech about just being on the sidelines at the appropriate place. Make sure you're behind this line and make sure you're picking up the pads after a drill. And I think that mindset of just trying to instill these little details in his team is going to help them in the long run. That'll clean up the penalties on game day. It'll eliminate some of the mistakes when you're in these big moments. So it starts in the spring, and I like that he's already coming out of the gate with that mindset. And it seems so far that the team is buying in. Yeah, I think so. They seemed really just into him yesterday. Like I said, the energy was infectious. It was great. And I mean, they only have 10 practices? If you play football, you were a football guy. What do you want to get done in that little time? Just kind of mesh the team? I mean, this is basically a new team. Yeah, I think you're trying to blend the old with the new. You're trying to develop, especially when you have a new coach, you're trying to develop a new mindset. And also just get them to buy in. Like, hey, I know you guys were successful last year, especially the people that have been here. But we can still be successful and maybe even elevate to another level, but I need you to buy in. And it might not be the same voice or the same process that Coach Quinn Gray had, but this process will work if you buy into it. And so if the players buy into that, I think it's a good thing. Early on, players are getting to know each other. They're trying to make new friends and just understand position groupings and new coaches.
Right.
And so it's really just a feeling out period. When they get into the summer and really start getting into that work, it's about the X's and O's, and it's about understanding the offensive schemes and where do we need to be on a play. But right now, I think it's just a feeling out period. Spring is like I think when pitchers and catchers maybe first report, that 10 days is like that.
Yeah.
But then when the rest of the team gets there, it's like, hey, because they don't even have the high schoolers.
Right,
So
exactly. We
these young guys
could
are
have a freshman QB.
Yeah, these young guys are going to have to take time to get integrated as well as we get to the summer. But right now, it's just a good opportunity to kind of get their feet wet in what it's going to look like come fall.
All right, well, spring practice has commenced, and so has my favorite time of year, March Madness. Coming up, we're going to talk about the road to the Final Four. You'll hear Aaron's picks, my picks. You guys can be the judge on who you guys think has the better ones, but that'll be coming up after the break. Welcome back into Sports Talk. Aaron, the most wonderful time of the year.
Whoa.
For
Let's not go
come
too
on,
crazy.
come on.
I'm a football guy. The most wonderful time is fall.
This is what I've been waiting for.
But March Madness is a lot of fun.
March Madness is a lot of fun. We have a lot of teams with a chance to win it. I mean, we'll just get into it. One of these roads, to me, it's a little tough. Duke, the overall number 1 seed, they face one heck of a road.
I think it's a little biased, though. Like you're just mad.
But it's not even that. They're the overall 1 seed, and you don't think this is hard?
It's not that this isn't hard, but this is what happens when you're the number 1 overall seed and you shouldn't be the number 1 overall seed. This is what happens. It's karma.
Okay,
so you get a tough road. Maybe they shouldn't have been the top overall seed. However, it is a tough road. I mean, anytime you got St. John's, UConn, like these
Michigan State.
These are teams. Not only are they good basketball teams, but they have like championship medal, like the people that have been there before in those moments. And I think that's the biggest thing we're talking about is not just these teams they're good basketball teams. They've got guys either in leadership positions or on the team that have been there before. And I think that's ultimately going to matter.
And the coaching. I mean, Dan Hurley, Rick Pitino, Tom Izzo. I said it last year, death taxes, Tom Izzo in March. I mean, this guy is built for March, and Duke's going to have to do really well. And they're 2 players short currently. We don't have word on if they're for sure going to be cleared, but their number 1 guy, Cam Boozer, he's been stealing the show all season, but he will need a couple of guys behind him. But who do you have making it through to this one at least?
Well, I think when you talk about this particular bracket in general, and you talk about Duke, I think early on they might be out some guys, and I don't know if that's going to hurt them when they're playing a 16 seed and then maybe an 8 or 9 seed. But down the stretch, if those guys aren't available, that could be a problem. They did already announce a few guys that aren't going to play in the first couple of games, so that's going to be a big deal if you're not fully healthy when you go against a team like St. John's. And then UConn at the bottom of the bracket. Obviously, if Duke does happen to get by St. John's and reach the Elite Eight for a chance at the Final Four, I think is going to be a tough out because UConn's what Coach Hurley has done with that program over the past 5 years is special, and it's already a champion and historic program. So I do think Duke is always one of those teams that has an opportunity to get to the Final Four. I don't want to discredit them too much, even though I'm a North Carolina guy. They do have an opportunity to get there. But something about this season just is screaming to me very much like some seasons past where I think it's an early exit. And it's unfortunate that you're a Dookie, but I think it's the St. John's game. I think St. John's is going to be a tough out for them. And you mentioned Pitino and what he's done. I just really, really like what St. John's is about. And they got, I don't want to use an inappropriate word. They got the short end of the stick. Yeah. They should not be a 5 seed.
No, not at all.
They should be a lot higher, and they didn't. So Duke gets a bad draw, but as a Duke hater, I don't care.
One of the more exciting matchups that I'm looking forward to in the first round, Alabama-Hofstra. Now, you may look at this and say, Mackenzie, why do you think that's going to be a good matchup? Alabama just lost one of their top leading scorers. Yeah. He's out, and Hofstra, I like him.
I like him. 13-4 is actually a really interesting matchup because a lot of people look at the 12-5 matchups and they talk about that being the upset. And that usually is the first round upset. But there are a lot of 13 seeds that make runs into the Sweet 16 and to the Elite Eight. And not that Hofstra is one of those, but I also think this is a good spot for an upset. If you're looking in your bracket and you're trying to pick an upset, I do like this. Alabama has had some games where they just did not show up, and now you lose, such a key, important piece of their team, and that could ride into the tournament. Hofstra's playing really well, and their name, Hofstra Pride. They got pride.
They got it.
They have a good opportunity here to knock off one of the better teams in the country that we thought maybe could make a deep run earlier.
Do you have Hofstra over Alabama?
I do not.
We still have time to. I was thinking about it. I don't have it right now because I got Akron.
So I have Akron
Yeah.
over Alabama as well. I have Akron going all the way into the Sweet 16. So
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
So that's kind
You've Akron. Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I have Akron making a little run. They're going to lose to Michigan, but
Right. Okay. Well, let's take a look at some of our Final Four picks. We'll start with mine. To nobody's surprise, I have Duke, and it's not biased.
It's a homer.
It's not biased. It's
Just a homer.
John Shire is coaching the heck out of this team. They're coming off an ACC title without their two best players. You talk about maybe an early exit. I'm going to say no. I think this is our year. Illinois, I like what they've done so far. Yes, they looked bad against Wisconsin, but I do think they'll be okay. Arkansas, we got to talk about Arkansas. Darius Acuff Jr. is hooping right now.
best player in the country, should be the #1 overall pick. I know some people disagree with that. I love Darius Acuff Jr., and I'll get to my picks and why I think he is the best player in the country.
Yeah, and then I got Michigan in there, but let's take a look at Aaron's.
All right, so listen, this is very, very simple. I mentioned St. John's shouldn't be a 5 seed. They are coming out of the East. I think they're going to beat Duke. I think they'll take care of UConn. I just love what St. John's basketball is about. And how could you discredit the #1 team in the country from a year ago who won the national championship, and we're just going to forget about Florida because of their little blip they had in the SEC tournament? Listen, Florida was playing some of the best basketball in the country before that game. Give me Florida. Arkansas, you mentioned Darius Acuff Jr., best player in the country. They are, to me, the team to beat. And I know they're a 4 seed, and that might not look pretty, but John Calipari knows how to produce NBA talent, and I'm always going to take a guy that I feel like can produce at NBA talent level. I said this last year to you, that Walter Clayton Jr. was the best player in the country during the tournament. They won the championship. I think the same thing applies here. Darius Acuff Jr. is going to be the best player in this tournament, and they win it all. And then Michigan, they're just a really, really good basketball team. And I like their bracket. I think theirs is the easiest bracket to get out of. When you're going to go up against a team like Virginia, who's I don't think as strong as really what their seed says.
I agree.
Says a lot. So give me those 4 and give me Arkansas versus Florida in the national championship game.
Oof, all right. How about we got to talk about Georgia. I mean, we're in Georgia. We got to talk about the Dogs.
Second round exit to Michigan.
You have them beating St. Louis?
I do. I think
too.
they're good enough offensively to produce a high enough output, but I don't think they're strong enough or consistent enough to beat a team like Michigan.
All right. Well, I agree on that. All right. Well, you guys, thanks for joining us for this rendition of Sports Talk. Again, we'll be here every day at 7:30 tomorrow. We'll be in the studio as well. Morgan will be here in my place. What are you guys going to be talking about?
Probably the women's bracket and more ASU football. And how about this high school baseball coming up? Can't wait.
I love it. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your night.